This is what the narcissist secretly thinks about you now, after a long separation. There's something chilling about silence after a storm. When someone who once demanded your attention suddenly vanishes, when the chaos fades, and you're left wondering what remains in the mind of the person who once tried to control you. What are they really thinking now? After all this time, after the dust has settled, do they still think about you at all? And if they do, what could possibly be going on in their mind when there's no more fight to win, no more game to play, no more power to steal? Today's video dives deep into the unsettling world of narcissistic thought, long after you've left. We're not just exploring surface-level behavior. We're going underneath into the patterns and psychology of the narcissist. Because even if they never say it, even if they pretend to have forgotten you, the truth is often much more complex and much darker. If you've ever asked yourself, what do they think about me now that I'm gone? Then stay with me until the end of this video. What we're about to uncover might change everything you thought you knew. Before we begin, if you found value in videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with someone who may be recovering from a toxic connection. Your support helps this channel reach others who need these insights. Now, let's start. Let's begin by making one thing absolutely clear. Narcissists don't forget you. They can't. No matter how long it's been, no matter how far you've gone or how deeply you've healed, you live in the recesses of their memory, but not in the way you might hope, not as someone they admire or appreciate. You're remembered for something much more complicated. You're the one who got away. You're the one who saw behind the mask. And that, to a narcissist, is unforgettable. What they really think about you, deep down, is rooted in a conflict they can't resolve. On one hand, they want to erase you. They want to pretend you never mattered, because to acknowledge your significance would be to admit that someone had real emotional power over them. That's something a narcissist can't afford to accept. But on the other hand, they are haunted by you, not just who you were, but what you represented. You were the mirror they couldn't shatter, the reality they couldn't fully rewrite. And now, long after you've walked away, that reflection still lingers, taunting them in silence. Even if they appear to be thriving on the outside, you must understand that narcissists live inside their own echo chamber. It's filled with distortion, denial, and control. They tell themselves stories to make sense of why people leave, and those stories always cast them as a victim or the hero. But with you, the narrative doesn't add up, because you didn't leave in weakness. You didn't run back after their manipulation. You didn't beg. You walked, quietly, clearly, with strength, and that rewrote the ending in a way they didn't expect, one they never planned for. They tell themselves you were dramatic, too emotional, too difficult, that you never appreciated their value. But behind that story is a deeper truth they won't admit. They underestimated you. They thought they had more time, more control. They assumed you would always be there to explain yourself, to defend yourself, to try one more time. But when you didn't, it shook something inside them, something they've been trying to silence ever since. You see, narcissists don't process loss like emotionally healthy people do. They don't grieve a person. They grieve the loss of access. What haunts them isn't who you were. It's what you gave them, your emotional reactions, your attention, your admiration, your pain. All of it was supply. And when that source goes dry, especially without warning, it sends them into a psychological tailspin. They start scanning for answers, inventing reasons, projecting blame. But none of it sticks, because deep down, they know exactly what they lost and exactly why. They think about whether you still think about them, whether you check on them the way they secretly check on you. They wonder if you're dating someone new, and if that person understands you the way they once did, before they tore that understanding apart. They imagine you happy, and that image, more than anything, fuels their internal war, because it confirms what they fear the most, that they never broke you. They still remember the way you looked at them when you believed in them. They remember how your voice changed when you were hurt. They remember the patience you offered, the explanations you gave, the way you tried to hold everything together even as they kept pulling it apart. And even if they laughed at you for it at the time, now it lingers like an ache, because they know they'll never feel that again, not from anyone else, not in the same way. In private moments, they may replay your conversations. They might open your old messages, look through your social media if you haven't blocked them, or ask mutual friends about your life. They won't admit it, and they'll twist their interest into something else. But the truth remains. They want to know if you've healed. And if you have, if you're at peace, if your glow has returned, something inside them breaks just a little bit more. This torment doesn't end with time. It mutates. It becomes part of their inner narrative. Even if they find a new partner, even if they start over, they carry the unresolved thread of your story with them. That's why they often hate the new supply over time. Not because the new person is wrong, but because the narcissist starts comparing them to you. And when the new person doesn't react like you did, doesn't feed them the same energy, doesn't challenge them in the same way, it reminds them of what they lost. You, and let's be honest, you weren't perfect, but you were real. You were emotionally invested. You were present. And the narcissist took all of that for granted. So now, even years later, they wonder, what would have happened if they had chosen differently? What if they had treated you better? What if they had listened? That what if becomes a shadow that follows them, one they can't escape no matter how much they try to rewrite history. Their ego won't allow them to admit regret openly, but in their mind, it shows up in quieter ways. Bitterness, jealousy, loneliness, rage. These are the symptoms of their buried thoughts. They'll lash out at others, criticize their current partner, sabotage new relationships, all because they're still wrestling with a decision they can't take back. What cuts even deeper for them, far deeper than they'll ever admit, is the undeniable truth that you didn't just walk away and survive. You evolved. You transformed. You took the pain they once used to try to destroy you and turned it into something powerful, something unshakable. They're faced now with the reality that the person they once saw as dependent, fragile, or easy to manipulate has become someone even stronger, wiser, and more grounded than before. That realization is a bitter one because it challenges everything they believed about their control over you. It proves that their influence was never permanent, that the damage they caused wasn't the final chapter, that you were capable of breaking free and becoming whole again without them. This growth you've experienced terrifies them, not just because it makes them feel small, but because it destroys the illusion that they were irreplaceable or central in your life. The fantasy that you would always orbit around them is shattered by the fact that you're now centered in your own world and not theirs. You built something new from the ashes of what they tried to burn down. And every step you take forward in peace, in healing, in self-respect, reminds them that their grip never truly held. You broke the cycle. You rewrote the ending. And the most painful part for them is knowing they no longer have access to the person you become, the person they were never worthy of in the first place. They might pretend it doesn't matter. They might act like you were just another passing connection. But the truth lingers in the spaces they never talk about. Because no matter how much they try to minimize it, the truth is this. No one else can replace you. No one else can fill the space where your honesty, your love, your authenticity once lived. That chapter of their life, the one where you showed up fully, where you gave them chance after chance, where you looked at them and saw someone worth saving, can't be rewritten. It stands alone, untouchable, irreplaceable. And though they may try to bury it, under new relationships, under temporary highs, under distractions or avoidance, that memory remains. It doesn't fade. It doesn't disappear. It waits in the quiet. It surfaces in moments of stillness, in flashes of deja vu, in dreams they can't control. It becomes a part of their story, whether they acknowledge it or not. Because even if you move so far beyond them that you no longer remember the tone of their voice or the exact way they used to speak, your voice still lives in their head. The words you said, the things you stood for, the strength you showed in the end. That voice echoes, not because you need to be heard, but because they can't forget. You became the reminder they carry with them everywhere, that they had something real and let it slip away, and they will never get it back. Even though you've stopped marking calendar, even though the days, weeks, or even years have passed without a second thought about them, they still feel every passing second in a way that cuts deep. Your absence isn't just a quiet gap in their life. It's a gnawing presence that lingers in the background, always there, like a missing sound in a familiar song. For them, time hasn't brought peace. It has only magnified the silence you left behind. While you stop keeping track of how long it's been, they feel the weight of that void with every waking hour. Every moment is a reminder that something they once controlled is now completely out of reach. Even though you've carved out a future where they no longer exist, they've never stopped seeing you in the ruins of their own life. You're not part of their plans, but you're everywhere in their regrets. They see glimpses of you in their failures, the jobs they can't keep, the relationships they can't make last, the peace they can't seem to find no matter where they go or who they're with. In their loneliest moments, when there's no one left to impress or manipulate, the emptiness wraps around them like a fog. And somewhere in that haze, they see you, not as a ghost of the past, but as a symbol of everything they lost and will never get back. They can't explain the hollowness they feel, but they know it's connected to you. They may try to replace the feeling, distract from it, or drown it out, but it always returns. What they truly think about you now goes beyond the surface, beyond the persona they once tried to project. In their private thoughts, those quiet, unfiltered moments when their mask slips, they see you more clearly than ever. They now realize that you're far stronger than they ever gave you credit for. Back then, they underestimated your resilience. They misjudged your capacity to walk away, to heal, to rise beyond the chaos they created. But now, from a distance, they see it. You didn't just survive what they put you through, you transformed. That strength humbles them, even if they'll never say out loud. In their mind, you become larger than life. Not because you want to be, but because you showed them a version of themselves they couldn't confront. They think about how important you actually were, even though they pretended otherwise. You left a mark that no amount of arrogance or rationalization can cover up. It's embedded in their memory, in the space where something genuine once lived. And now they understand that no matter how many times they try to minimize what you meant, the truth refuses to fade. The impact of your presence, the lessons you brought, the honesty you carried, all of it lingers like a pulse they can't stop feeling. And the deepest realization? It's this: they lost the one person who could have truly shown them something real. Not the kind of validation that inflates the ego, but the kind of connection that reaches the soul. You were that person. You stood in front of them, ready to love them for who they were, even while asking them to be better. And they weren't ready. They couldn't take it. They rejected it. Not because you weren't enough, but because they weren't capable of receiving something so real, so honest, so unconditional. And now, that missed opportunity follows them like a shadow they can't outrun. But the chance is gone. That door is closed. The path back no longer exists. Because you have moved on in ways they never imagined. You've rebuilt a life with stronger foundations. Without them, you've learned to love yourself in the ways they never could. You've healed in silence, away from the chaos, without needing revenge, closure, or recognition. And that fact, the absolute truth that you've created a peaceful, fulfilling life that they will never be part again, is something they have no power over. It's a reality they can't twist, manipulate, or control. And that truth, your freedom, your growth, your distance, is what torments them most. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your valuable time here with us today. If anything in this video helped you feel seen, gave you a clearer understanding of your experience, or simply brought you a moment of peace in the midst of your healing, please consider subscribing to this channel. By doing so, you'll continue to receive more content focused on your empowerment, your truth, and your emotional freedom. And if this video touched you in any way, take a second to hit the like button. It lets us know that these messages are reaching the people who need them most. And don't hesitate to share it with someone else who may be walking the same path of recovery. You never know when your action might be the turning point for someone else's healing. Always remember this. Your strength is not just in how you survived, but in how you chose to rebuild. Your courage, your growth, your quiet persistence to keep moving forward. Those are your legacy now. What happened to you was never your identity. How you rose from it is. Your healing, your boundaries, your clarity. They are not just milestones in recovery. They are declarations that you are no longer defined by pain, betrayal, or loss. You're defined by how you chose to love yourself enough to break free. You were never just the wound someone left behind. You were the wake-up call they never saw coming. The moment they had to face themselves without someone else to blame. The the mirror they couldn't break, the truth they couldn't distort. And even now, without words, without presence, without explanation, your silence echoes. It echoes louder than the noise they once created. It reminds them that real strength doesn't shout. It simply walks away and lets peace speak for itself. So thank you again for being here. Keep healing. Keep choosing yourself. And never forget, your story matters. You matter.